What is up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, the RJB0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. So here's something that caught my eye this weekend at the UK Nationals. A Chaos Dragon deck by Tom Lockett made it to the top 32. I understand that Tom Lockett does not consider this to be a Chaos Dragon deck because of lack of light pulsars, etc. However, I feel like the fact that it's a chaos deck that centers around chaos-themed dragons kind of makes it a chaos dragon deck. But it's a super cool deck that I actually really like that I feel could get better in the near future due to the release of Raiden coming in June. I thought that this was kind of a relevant thing to check out. It's very different from the standard meta right now, and I like a lot of the cool combos that you can get out of this deck. So, of course, it centers around the 3 Black Dragon Collapse Serpent and the 3 White Dragon Wyver Burster. And you've got your triple Destiny Hero Malicious with your triple Plague Spreader Zombie. You've got an Armageddon Knight, 2 Dark Greffers, 1 Jane, 2 Lila, 2 Wolf, and then 2 Summoner Monks, 1 Blackluster, 2 Chaos Sorcerers, 1 Dark Arm Dragon, and then we've got the 1 Allure of Darkness, triple Solar Recharge, 1 Rhoda, 1 Charge of the Light Brigade, triple MST, double Night Beam, and triple Rekindling. I mean, Soul Charge. So that's the main deck. I want to talk about a few of the choices. So the way this deck seems to work to me, I can't pretend to know what the original creator intended for this deck, but the way it seems to me to work is that it has a lot of ways of putting various kinds of synchro monsters on the board at a cost of basically 0. So you have ways of putting things together with Plague Spreader Zombie and your Black Dragon Club Serpent / Wyver Burster. So your Plague Spreader Zombie is going to be available to you quite frequently by way of the multiple ways of putting it into the grave or through your hand. And the nice thing about that is it is a reoccurring tuner, which allows you to use it multiple times with the monsters that you have available. So if you combine a Plague Spreader Zombie with a Black Dragon or a White Dragon, then you get a level 6 Synchro that you get for free, and you can do that multiple times in a single turn, which is why he can run this Ptolemy M7. So that's super cool. But he also has a lot of ways of putting something like a Destiny Hero Malicious in the grave in order to put a Beals or a Void Ogre Dragon on the board as well, which are 2 extremely powerful cards. And I like a lot of the combos that you can use to do that. Via like Dark Greffer. 1 Dark Greffer with a Mally in hand equals a Beals on the field, which I think is super cool. You can also use Summoner Monk, which allows you to discard one of the many one of the many spell cards that you have available to you in order to put an Armageddon Knight on the board, which then allows you to put Mally in the grave, and then you can overlay for your Lava Ball Chain, which can put your Plague Spreader Zombie on the board. The other nice thing about combos with Lava Ball Chain is they are an instant way to put a Dark Arm Dragon on the board. And another one of the things you can see when you look at this is by way of Plague Spreader Zombie, there are a lot of cards that you don't want to have early game in this deck, but that are good either to mill or to get late game. So a good example is if you draw into Wolf but you don't have Solar Recharge, which is a fairly rare situation, but you can have it. You can put that Wolf back on top of your deck to put Plague Spreader on the board and then get some milling with something like Charge of the Light Brigade or Solar Recharge. I mean, if you had the Solar Recharge, you probably would have discarded the Wolf, but you get the idea. You have the chance to put the Wolf in the graveyard in order to get its effect. You can also then use something that would search from the deck or shuffle cards into the deck, something like your Lava Ball Chain or your Dark Greffer or something like that. So it's fairly easy to put cards back into the deck that aren't so great early game, but would be better late game. Another thing you're going to notice is a ton of back row hate. This deck relies a lot on Soul Charge to set up very large fields through things like Void Ogre Dragon, Beals, your Psyhemoths, just a ton of things that you can put on the board, Dark End Dragon, that can benefit you without hitting the battle phase, so you really want to be able to use that Soul Charge as effectively as possible. So a ton of back row hate is really good because it gets rid of the possibility that you're going to get hit with the Vanity's Emptiness, which would kind of totally destroy this deck. But this deck also has a ton of OTK potential by way of the Chaos Monsters, which I still think are absolutely incredibly powerful monsters, but have not had a particularly good setting for them until now. By way of those cards and by way of Xyz monsters, by way of your Black Dragon, you can call up Serpent and your Wyver Bursters. You can put like a Synchro on the board and a Xyz monster, and then you can still have one of your Chaos Dragons and a Chaos Monster or something like that, and go in for an OTK. So this amount of back row hate allows you to do that really effectively. So I think that this is a super cool deck. I, once again, do not know every explanation for every card in this deck. I just thought I'd take a look at it and show you guys why this deck might be as successful as it was, and give you guys maybe an idea of why you might want to try playing around with it. So you've got also in the side deck some interesting choices, your double Caius and double Jinzo. These are cards that are super easy to put on the board, and once again, you can do it for free just because of the Collapse Serpent and Wyver Burster. You've also got Raikou to take out something like Ophion, and just general problem cards that are going to be locking down your bigger plays. Double System Down, really powerful against Geargia. You've got Twister. Zombie World is also really good against Geargia. It's good against Dragon Rulers. It's good against a lot of decks that really rely on a single type, especially involving things in the graveyard. There are just a ton of decks in the current meta that really have trouble with a card like Zombie World. Sylvans are going to be are going to have real issues with this card in the near future if they become a bigger deck. You've also got Curse Seal, the Forbidden Spell, which is crazy good against things like, what was the thing I was thinking of? Fire Fist. Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell is devastating against Fire Fist. It's also really good against Spellbooks, which is kind of relevant because Spellbooks also made it to the top 32 at this particular tournament. Then you've got the Triple Deck Devi. This is one of my favorite choices in this deck, because you'll notice it's fairly easy to put a Deck Devi out on the board. By way of, like, Power... Oh, wait, Powered Insectron is a light monster. Never mind, I take that back. But you've got a lot of ways of putting it on the board via your Synchro plays, or if you side in your Caius, or with one of your Chaos monsters, actually specifically Chaos Sorcerer or Dark Arm Dragon. So it's fairly easy to put down a Deck Devastation Virus, and even more importantly is the fact that Deck Devastation Virus is an incredibly good card this format. Partially because it wrecks Geargia, it also takes down Harpies, it causes a lot of problems for a lot of decks, and if you land this card against many of the decks this format, including Mermails, you can win the game fairly handily from there. So I like that. I've already kind of explained all the Synchros in this extra deck, and all of the Xyz monsters as well. So that's kind of my analysis of this deck. I hope you guys like this deck. If you do, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe for more deck discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Let me know what you guys think of this deck. I just want to try experimenting with it, try moving around some cards. It just looks super cool to me. So there you guys go. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.